welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And we'd love for you to visit our website, badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, where you will find all of our episodes, over 400 episodes, and our resources page of our favorite resources and information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Dianne. And we are, you can also scroll down and enter your email address and we'll send you episodes straight to your inbox every week. And we are on Patreon and we're having fun over there. And we hope that you will visit the tiers. I always tell people to visit the tiers. Are you visiting the tiers on the top of the show notes under this episode? Wherever you're listening from, there's a link. And there is a $3 a month tier where we have mini podcasts, monthly of me and Dianne talking about various parenting or breastfeeding things. And then there's a $5 tier where we send you stickers and thank you for nursing in public cards when you sign up. And then there's an extra ad-free episode every month and an $8 a month episode where we have a Zoom hangout every month where we just get together and we vent or share what's going on. We just literally hang out and talk about whatever comes up.
Mm-hmm. It's fun.
And with that tier, you also get monthly stickers and thank you for nursing in public cards. And you should check it out. There's cool things that are offered. And then we're still doing our ongoing giveaway for people who leave reviews around the internet. You can write written reviews or stars, take a screenshot, send that to badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll send you a goodie bag of stickers, podcast stickers, and thank you for nursing in public cards. And I think that's all. Dianne has our review of the week.
And it comes from Dang It, Karen. Which I thought was funny.
I love that.
I know. I wish I would have found this podcast sooner. I started listening when I went back to work at 6 weeks postpartum. That probably would have been the end of my journey, but this podcast gave me the reassurance that if I wanted to, I could continue. And if I didn't, that would be okay too. We're now a week away from celebrating her first birthday and we're still breastfeeding. And she's already won because this was a couple weeks ago. So happy birthday. Dianne and Abby helped us through supply dips, informed us about co-sleeping and teething, and gave me the confidence I needed to nurse in public. Aw.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Happy first birthday. That's a huge milestone. And especially when you went back to work at 6 weeks postpartum, to be able to go on as a working mom for months and months is amazing. So congratulations to you. That's a really difficult thing to do. And you did it and you did amazing. So congratulations and happy birthday to your little one.
Happy first nurse-iversary.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
I know.
So today we've got lots of fun stuff. We've got a couple of messages that we want to definitely tackle because they came with questions. And then we're going to talk about jury duty, which I don't know. We've talked about doing this and then didn't, and then talked about it again. And we've got lots of people that messaged in about it. So we definitely want to talk about it.
Yeah. I think that I don't know why we haven't done it. I think we were unsure about how to handle it since it's completely different from state to state. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. But now we have a lot of messages. Yeah. We have a situation. We have a situation on Facebook that somebody posted about, and we're going to talk all about it.
All right. Well, let me do my questions first, and then we'll do that. So this one came in through Buzzsprout. My baby was recently sick and likely myself as well. And I spent a weekend pretty engorged because she was eating very sporadically and I wanted to make sure I had milk for her. Now that she's back at daycare, I have noticed my supply is a couple ounces down while I'm pumping for the next day's milk. How can I get my supply back up, and what do I do differently next time to avoid a supply drop when baby is sick and eating less than normal? So this is a really great question, especially this time of year where everybody's getting sick, and especially daycare babies, they get it the worst, If your baby is sick and because remember, like, when you're sick, you don't like to eat that much. Well, I always eat, but a lot of people don't. Yeah. So especially babies, and especially if it's like a respiratory thing, their nose is all stuffy, it's really hard for them to breathe, then breastfeeding can be really difficult for them. So a couple things you can do, definitely use that little nose sucker thing with their nose. Try to get that, some of that congestion out of there if you can. Saline drops in their nose, breast milk drops in their nose, that can help too. But if the baby is not eating that much and you're feeling engorged, you definitely have to pump. And you'll have milk for her. Don't worry about it for your baby, because if you pump, remember, just keep in mind that you're not taking all the milk out of the breast when you pump. There's always milk there for the baby. So if you pump, if you're feeling engorged and you pump and the baby wants to eat an hour later, you absolutely will have milk for the baby. But you don't have to even pump till you're completely empty. You can just pump a little bit to kind of keep you from being uncomfortable too. But that will help you to keep your supply where you need it to be. And to get your supply back up is just going to be pumping. And your supply is going to rebound. It's not, it wasn't down for that long. It's going to rebound for sure once you get back into your regular routine again. But it can be really stressful when you're kind of dealing with that kind of a situation.
But getting the milk out, that's the key, is the baby's not getting it out and they're not eating. So you have to get it out.
Yeah, you have to get it out. You've got to get that milk out. And then I had one more, which is also a very common, let me find it, question. I'm a mom to a 5-month-old combo feeder, house supply issues from nipple shield and overuse and latch issue. My baby and I got to a really good place with feeding where nursing and pumped milk was making up the majority of her intake, and nursing was finally feeling easy and comfortable. Then she started getting these 2 sharpest little bottom teeth of all time, especially when she gets distracted or as feeding goes on, she won't keep her tongue fully extended while nursing. So she isn't biting me, but those little teeth are scraping along my very sensitive under nipple skin. The prospect of that sharp pain has seriously increased my anxiety initiating breastfeeding and made each session stressful as I'm hyper-vigilantly watching for any sign that her latch is changing. Help. Those teething babies.
I know. They're the worst.
It is the worst. So fortunately, once those teeth come all the way in, I feel like they're worse when they're like halfway in or just starting to pop up. They're just in a position where they're always scraping, and they are the sharp little razor teeth too. So once they come all the way up, it's going to feel more comfortable, but definitely just take her off. Keep watching, be, like you said, you're kind of vigilant. Oh my God, hyper vigilant about watching for the tongue to be down, watching for any changes in her nursing. And that's what you have to do when they're teething. You have to kind of keep one eye on them, see if they're starting to get distracted, if they're starting to get sleepy and dozing off, if they're starting to lose interest in nursing and they're just suckling a little bit. That's when that's going to start to happen, where you're going to start feeling those teeth. So you do have to be a little bit more cognizant of what they're doing during that nursing. I mean, you kind of were to the point probably where you're just popping her on and she's nursing and everything is fine. And now you have to go back to watching them again. So definitely keep doing that and take her off if she starts to get distracted and you notice that things are different, because she's not nursing anymore when that happens. So you're not taking any milk away from her or anything like that. But we do have episodes on teething too. If anybody else is interested, we have, because that comes up a lot.
Yeah, biting. That's the thing they all go through.
Yeah,
they don't all bite, but
they don't all bite, but they all get teeth. So you're dealing with it in some way or another. And I think, it's like once you get to that point where they're teething and they have teeth coming in, you've been kind of like, you've already gone through all the hard stuff in the very beginning and you're in a routine and things are finally going and you're like, okay, now we hit this other road bump, and it can feel really frustrating. But we gotcha. We have episodes on it. And that's what I got for you.
Well, thanks. And so, today we're going to talk about jury duty. And as Dianne and I were just talking, we're like, everybody knows what jury duty is, right? Like if you're from another country. I know other countries have jury duty, but do they all have exactly what we're talking about?
I don't know.
I would assume. So a jury is a group of people that hear a case and decide, listen to the evidence and decide if the person is guilty of the crime or not. And in the US, you get called, everybody who lives here just gets called every once in a while. It's
Random.
your civic duty to just get called, and you go in and, usually you're sent home at the end of the day, but sometimes you get called to sit on a jury.
Yep.
Yes. And sometimes sequestered, where you are actually like taken and removed from your home, and like you have to be isolated in a hotel room, and it's very intense. I had a friend go through that, and it was,
oh my gosh,
terrible.
That's for like really big cases.
Yeah, it was a high profile mafia case in New York City.
Oh my gosh,
where we were living, and she was sequestered for 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she was just gone. She was like telling us when she came back to work, she was telling us all the things that happened. Like they all had to go, the whole jury had to go in this little van to each house, and the guards would like go into their house with them. They weren't allowed to talk to their family. They could like wave to their kids. They had to pack a bag and go and whatever. It sounds awful. Now that's very unusual. That's not. Usually you get a letter and you're like, okay. And nowadays I've noticed that you don't even have to go down there. You call like the night before to see. It used to be that everybody had to go down there and sit and wait all day. But now sometimes you can just call and they'll tell you they don't need you, or they'll tell you you can get a little bit of a heads up. I'll tell you, I live in Illinois, and I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I have not been to jury duty or any of it since Jack was born, because one of the exemptions in Illinois is if you are the sole or primary care provider for a child under the age of 12, you are exempt. So every time I get a jury duty letter, I write up the letter like I go to the code and everything. I look it up online. I know like per exemption code, blah, blah, blah. I'm excused. I have a child who's under the age of 12. Exley's 10, so it's getting close. It's been one of my favorite things about parenting in Illinois is not having to go there. And I send it in, and then I don't hear from them again for another, whatever year or whatever it is. So that's my experience here in Illinois. Now there are, there's a lot of discussion around like breastfeeding and jury duty, and like, what do we, and in my opinion, I'm like, this shouldn't even matter whether you're breastfeeding or not. Anybody who has a baby should be exempt from jury duty. You have a baby, for crying out loud. Right. But of course, we live in the United States. It doesn't matter. You have to go back to work at 6 weeks. You have to come, to jury duty, and also don't bring your baby. Now, no, it doesn't matter if you have like zero resources and you have like no one to take care of your baby, and it doesn't matter. You come or you get in trouble. Now, every state is different. Some states you are exempt if you have a breastfeeding baby. Sometimes you're exempt if you have a child, under a certain age. Sometimes there are no exemptions. A lot of times there are no exemptions at all. Mm-hmm. And you're expected to show up without your baby and spend however much time you need to spend there, because they also don't tell you that. Like, you don't know exactly what's going to happen when you get there. Are they going to need you? Are you going to be called on for a case? How long is that case going to be? You don't know these things ahead of time. Like, it's just, that's what you're there for. You're there to be there in case there's a jury needed. And who knows? So it's always a point of stress for parents in this country, because it's a lot of times you just don't have an excuse. Sometimes there's an exemption if you have like a doctor's note. But you have to look up your particular state and what the laws are. And you may already know, because if you have a baby, you may have been called to jury duty. There's, the best thing to do is to go to your state website, put in jury duty exemptions in, New York or Illinois or whatever state you're living in, and see what they are exactly. And if you can get a doctor's note, get that doctor's note. Talk to your doctor about, what in case of jury duty coming up, what can I do? And so I first got this email a long time ago, from a person from, it's just an email came in, and this person said, was curious if you'd done an episode on how to juggle jury duty while being a breastfeeding mama. I've been summoned and I'm going through the process of figuring out, okay, baby with dad these days and daycare these days, and who's going to pick him up, etc. He takes a bottle grate, which is awesome, and we're on 10 months of breastfeeding, so my supply is pretty well established. Then I got to thinking, if there are other moms out there that had to go to jury duty with their babies, we're still in that 1 to 3 month age group, and how to handle it. Can you bring your baby to the court? How do moms handle pumping while at court? Just pump when the judge gives you a jury break? Any moms out there pump while in the jury box? Which, would the court let you borrow their fridge for your pumped breast milk? I plan to bring a cooler bag, but I'd love to know other moms' experiences with this. This makes me laugh, because I'm like, this is so stupid. This is so stupid that we're doing this. Like, just be like, okay, your circumstances are not convenient right now, so just you stay home. It gets just a pain in the ass for the court too.
Right. So we have here, so I'm in New York, and I actually know the commissioner of jurors here, and he is very proud of the fact that they have a breastfeeding space. At least they used to. I don't know how well he's kept it up, and I don't know how good it is, but we made them when I worked for WIC and I was working for the county. We made all the county office buildings have some kind of space for breastfeeding parents. And so he was very proud of that they had that. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if they still do it, but yeah, there is all those questions of, when can I go and pump? When can I get a pump break? Can it happen? And what if you have 2 breastfeeding parents on the jury?
Yeah.
You have to say you have to go at the same time. You have to be, your baby's on the same routine, so you both have to go at the same time. Like, it just doesn't, I would think it'd be hard to maneuver.
Yeah.
And it's just not the easiest thing to do. I mean, it's just, yeah, I got called. How much you want to bet I'll get summoned now that we're talking about this? But the last time I was summoned, my twins were just born. And I was like, I just had twins and I'm breastfeeding. And they're like, okay, we'll exempt you.
That was the last time you were called to jury duty?
Yeah. That was 22 years ago. You
haven't been called in 20 years.
No.
Okay. I'm so sick of hearing these stories, because I get called constantly. Like, they're just dying to have me on a jury. Like, I'm like their number one. They're like, oh my God, we need this lady on a jury. She's like the most amazing person, apparently, because they're just constantly writing to me. Like, they're my biggest fan. And Josh is the same way. Josh never got called. He never got a summons. And on one of my summons, I was replying like, I care for a child. I am exempt. And I was like, but Josh Wilker at 1450 West Arthur Avenue. I gave all of his information. I was like, he is available and he has never been called, and you need to call him.
Oh my God.
They actually did. I don't know if that was like because of my letter, but he eventually did start getting them.
Oh my God. No, I haven't been called. Tom actually got summoned a couple of weeks ago. And it was kind of funny because he was like, I have a trial going on right now. I wonder if I'm being summoned for my own trial.
I would imagine. Does he just like automatically exempt?
No, he has to go through the process. I mean, they'll never have him.
But the exemption is he always has to go through that. That's the thing, is that they make it very clear too. They're like, we don't keep records of this, so you just have to fill it out every time. Every time you get called, you just have to tell us that you're not coming because of whatever reason, because we're not going to we're not going to keep track of it for you.
Yeah, my kids are starting to get them. Yeah, my kids are starting to get them now, and they're not happy about it. I'm like, well, you got to do it. I don't know what to tell you. I can't get you out of this one.
Yeah. Yeah. This is part of being an adult.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and this person goes on to say, I'm in New Jersey. I need written proof that the child I care for needs me. I mean, wait a minute. I'm sorry. You care for a child and you need a written note to say that that child needs to be with you. Okay, that makes sense. Because we don't automatically assume a baby needs to be supervised by somebody. So they need a doctor's note. And I don't know. Whatever. The doctor's note seems silly to me too, but whatever. Get that if you can. I would say try absolutely everything. I feel like every state across the board should have exemption for parents, not just breastfeeders, for all parents with children under a certain age.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pick the age. I don't care. But it should be, I love 12. That's great. 12 seems, I doubt that there's anything beyond that. But something, because it's just as silly to make people go through these things, and the courts are having to deal with it too. Like, just call someone else. So here, Candace posted on Facebook, and several people were alerting me to this post, and it has gone pretty big. She writes, she didn't write this to me. She just wrote it. And then people started tagging other kind of breastfeeding advocates and stuff in it. She writes, I was called for jury duty in Jefferson County, Alabama today. Parker, her child, just turned 3 months and is exclusively breastfed. She will not take a bottle at all. The only way she will eat is by me. I called and turned in the forms to be excused, and it was not granted. I went today with Parker in tow in the middle of sick season, and it was a horrible experience. There were 2 other mothers there, and the judge said that those with children there need to make accommodations for their children to be picked up. They don't want to have to get DHR to be involved, which I assume is the Department of Human Resources. So they're threatening to have the state interfere with her parenting child to the that is just outrageous. She continues, I cannot get childcare that can breastfeed my baby for me. She would be screaming in hunger, and to threaten to take my baby away because of this? What in the world? Surely an idle threat, but why make that threat at all? The judge would not excuse me and said I need to make accommodations for her. I said I could not, or my baby couldn't eat. She made me sit back down to wait. This judge is a woman. She made me sit back down to wait another almost hour for all the excuses to be heard. I was then sent to the front where one lady on staff was horribly rude. She said I was excused only for the day and I will be called again and cannot bring my child back with me. I said I would have to if I was called while still breastfeeding. And she told me, well, you can pump. No, ma'am, I cannot pump and get her to take a bottle. How can you tell me how to feed my child? I have researched, and Alabama has no laws, many other amazing states do, that protect breastfeeding and pumping mothers called for jury duty. I'm honestly just appalled at our judicial system concerning women and children's health. I will absolutely report for jury duty and serve. I just cannot when my infant daughter depends on me for her basic need in life. The treatment we experienced today was awful. I would love to know who to contact to get the ball rolling in our state to pass the laws necessary for breastfeeding and pumping mothers. Also to know what to do if called again and I'm still nursing and cannot leave her. So there are a ton of comments of people who are just appalled at her experience. I'm so sorry you went through that, Candace. It's just awful. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to, people are getting, a lot of comments are people showing different parts of websites that are like, maybe you can get a doctor's note or plead your case that way and try to get a doctor's note to say something, or to other people are like, call the news, notify all the local news, and, get them to cover the story. Someone was like, do you need to go back tomorrow? I'll go with you and take care of your baby in between the feedings, which is amazing.
Yeah, that is really nice.
Somebody is commenting, just tagged like all the news people in her local area. People are suggesting to contact like a lawyer, or, anybody who can like maybe legally help. It's, this is a situation that makes me, I just don't understand why we have to cause this stress for parents. I don't understand it. And there's nothing that she can do. And she gets threatened to have her child taken away. It's just appalling.
It really is. And there's no need for that. There's other people that they can call and just say, okay, we'll exempt you until your child turns the age of whatever, and you can come in. But this is ridiculous to make idle threats and exacerbate her stress level. And like she said, she's trying to fulfill her child's basic need. And they're trying to go against that.
Right. I mean, they're trying to, there's no one
Come on,
has
Alabama.
any ounce of freaking sympathy or empathy for anybody. I mean, and it's true that this is just a symptom of a bigger problem that we have here with parent and child rights and support, for parents. And you're a terrible parent if you don't do this and this and that, and then there's no supports to help you do that. Like, you're supposed to breastfeed. Like we just have this whole thing with the American Academy of Pediatrics now changed the breastfeeding recommendations from 1 year to 2 years, right?
Right.
And everybody laughed. Everybody, and there was just this one united giggle that went across the United States when that happened, because we were like, what? Okay, so now you're supposed to breastfeed for 2 years. People couldn't even do it for the 1 year that you recommended before, because people have to go back to work, and there's no, there's very few pumping rights, and there's all of this, lack of support. But now let's do it for 2 years. Oh, but also, if you come to jury duty with your baby, then you're going to have your baby taken away. I just cannot, ridiculous. With the freaking hypocrisy in this country. It makes me so sick. I think that there was, I'm trying to find it, because I think I saw that somebody was organizing a nurse-in. And so if you're in Alabama, you might be interested. She made this post on January 13th. I don't know. I'll post a link to this post and the comments and stuff. So if you're in Alabama and you want to be, in the know about things that are going on, or want to, just show her some support, you can do that. Somebody in the comments says, they told me the same thing. This happened to me in April of 2024. I wasn't breastfeeding, but my son was just a baby. See, it doesn't even matter if you're breastfeeding.
No, it doesn't.
And I didn't have a sitter. So I took him with me. I called weeks in advance and said I didn't have a sitter, and that they told me to bring him and just ask to be dismissed when we arrived. We got there and I asked to be excused, and they told me childcare was not a valid reason. I was chosen for... I
don't understand how that's not a valid reason. So you leave... What is a valid reason? Right. They want you to leave your infant by himself?
I know. I don't get it. Yeah. No, you have to have... maybe you have to have a bullet hole in your head with fresh blood coming out of it, and then you're excused, but probably not. She says, I was chosen for a criminal case, and it was a different building where children were not allowed. They told me if I didn't find someone to get him, they would call DHR. My mom left work to come get him. I sat there for 3 more hours alone, and my case was thrown out anyway, so I never even made it into the courtroom, but it was absolutely traumatizing. I moved here from out of state. The only people that ever watched my son were my husband and my mother, and they both worked full-time. I quit my full-time job so that I could be the one to care for my child every day, and they really threatened to call social services. Yeah, she went ahead and quit her job so that she could be with her child all the time, and then they threatened her. And it's true. It's so traumatizing to go through that. And we shouldn't have to be going through this. I can't.
Mm-mm. No.
So maybe this is why we never did an episode on this, because I don't have any answers. I don't have a solution. I mean, I have, you're going to have to, you're going to have to find a way to pump. You're going to have to call and say, I have a child, I'm breastfeeding. And you're going to have to find childcare. You're going to have to find a way to pump. You're going to have to ask if you can use a refrigerator. It's going to be difficult, and it really is going to come down to the mood of that judge and the attitude and whatever of the people who were working there that day, because nobody seems to be on the same page when it comes to these states that don't have laws. It really comes down to who is going to feel accommodating that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is absolutely unacceptable, but that's how it is.
Unbelievable. I am so sorry to anybody that's had to go through that, because that is a really traumatizing situation to have to endure when you're just trying to get by.
Yeah, it's so sad. But yeah, check the link for this. If you're in Alabama, you might want to see if you can help her out. And I think, yeah.
Now, before we go, I almost forgot. We didn't talk about the pumping thing in the other countries.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we did get messages about that, if you remember.
Yes.
From our last episode.
Yes, from one of our last episodes, very recent episodes, we talked about pumping and getting a pump in a different country, because we talked about how here, at least right now, who knows how much longer with the new administration, people are going to be able to get pumps. But pumping has become more abundant because people are getting pumps for free with their insurance. So we asked what was going on in other countries, and we did get a couple of responses. So this one comes from England, from Joanna. Hello, I was just listening to the maternal separation episode where you spoke about the boom in pump use. In the UK, the amount of pumping is nuts, and we're seeing a significant rise in new moms being advised to use them at the hospital. Because the cesarean rate is so high and there aren't enough breastfeeding specialists in the maternity wards, they're being told to pump to get their milk to come in. And then they are being sent home with no real plan or support. Scary numbers of moms who are pumping before 6 weeks when they don't need to. Lots of distress from not knowing how to use a pump properly or how to troubleshoot them. Alongside that, there's an increase in the use of hands-free pumps and the HACAs that are not being used effectively, and it's leading to a rise in mastitis cases. Here we have seen several mothers over the last few years in A&E with abscesses caused by untreated mastitis where moms have not been draining the breast effectively with a pump. The hospital seems to be giving the message to pump, but not educating enough on hands-on pumping. I've sent the link of Abby's hands-on pumping video out so many times. Our leader has been calling it a pumpdemic, and it's driving us all nuts. Hard to tell someone who was told by a medical professional to pump that she doesn't have to, and to just trust the process. So it sounds like they have a lot of the same issues going on here. And she said, we were wondering if it was kind of related to the US. And it sounds a lot like what goes on here.
Yeah.
And then we got another one from Kimberly in Canada, who doesn't have to pump because they have a year to a year and a half of maternity leave. So they don't have these issues there. Which would be really nice.
That would be really nice. Yeah. But yeah, we have it here, and you're encouraged to pump, but jury duty. There's one comment here. I'm just going to read it real quick. There's one comment from somebody. She says, I'm in Australia. Last time I was called for duty, I was excused as I had a child carrying responsibilities for my then 4-year-old. She's in daycare, but not full time. And a couple of days she was home with my husband while I worked. That was enough to get me out. The U.S. is truly barbaric. I feel so bad for you guys.
Aww.
Thank you. We need all the sympathy you can get. Well, so check your state, come up with a plan, and thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.